Hi, welcome to another episode of Slay with me, Leigh M. Clark. Today I am here with Joelle Barbarulo, who is coming to us out of Naples, although she originally hails from the Northeast, a new grandmother, and also what we call a spiritual midwife, which in layman's terms means taking you on an emotional journey to find your own inner peace, and bringing you to your highest self that already exists. But she's also like, she's got the chops to prove it. She's a registered nurse by trade, a holistic registered nurse now. So her understanding of physiology and the body as well as spirituality are second to none. She is part of Slaying Miami, which is due out in March of 2026. So we're already starting the year off with a bang. We just saw each other. These things are going to air very quickly. So we just saw each other this past Sunday, 111 from 11 to 1, when we were together at the Satai in Miami celebrating some of the authors from Slaying Miami. So, Joelle, welcome to the show. Tell them a little bit about yourself and your chapter that you're working on.
So, as you introduced me, I'm a holistic RN, that I have a spiritual twist to it. I am a CEO and founder of Divinity Life Coaching. And the chapter I am working on is my story of my own inner wounds, and pain that turned it into purpose. So, the chapter I'm working on is kind of going over the modalities that I use and also how it wound up birthing my coaching business and how I help clients to find their own inner healer.
I love that too. And we were together, like I said, at the brunch the other day, and we were just talking before we started filming about the fact that there's so many people in different parts of their life that need this spiritual awakening that you really like solve for. And just that ability to have somebody externally kind of coach you through the process of becoming more self-aware. And so many women reached out to you after the brunch because they
Yes.
felt the same way. I could see them like as she was speaking, just nodding and understanding. So it's exciting to have you on the show because I know a lot of people at home can stand to learn from you and hopefully work with you at some point. So tell me what in your journey, what the real quantum leap, aha moment, and what has changed since then about the way you address your life, your boundaries, and so on.
Myself, I struggled, as a child and through my life with self-worth issues and visibility and fear. And in order to step into my true purpose and path, I had to work through a lot of that to understand my worth and really work through the fear of visibility, the fear of being seen, and the fear of speaking your truth. There's one thing about being honest, and then there's speaking your truth, and it is different. Um, my biggest thing is trying to help clients that really want to come to this. This is deep transformational work. So it's hard for people to make that decision. And unfortunately, most people who wind up to do the transformational spiritual coaching, it comes from some form of trauma or loss or a divorce or a relationship, a loss of a job. Unfortunately, a lot of people still seek outward validation and materialistic things to fulfill them. And I can tell you, you can't spiritually bypass. We can biohack, we can do all the great things to look beautiful and work out. And it's all very important. It's mind, body, soul. And it is a hard decision to make, but I can tell you, once you make that transition into this transformational work, you just find a peace that you can't find anywhere else. You find love, you find acceptance, and you do find some isolation because the person that you were and the person you're becoming there's loss with that. There's loss with that. You necessarily won't resonate with the same type of people or the same type of situations, but there's such beautiful growth. And so what you lose, I can tell you, you gain so much more. A lot of people find themselves between who they used to be and who they want to be. And I identify with clients because who you are now is who I was. And who you want to be is now who I've transitioned to. So that's the walk that I help guide them. And it's really helping somebody else find their own inner healer. I'm not healing you, you're healing you. I'm guiding you with the tools and the wisdom from my wounds to kind of help walk you there.
Yeah, it's great that enlightenment part. Like I think I had mentioned this too when we spoke, but like the only way to get through is the only way to the other side is through. And
Right.
even though, and this, I think a lot of people are guilty of this, they minimize what happened to them throughout their childhood or young adult life because they're like, well, I wasn't burned with cigarettes and I wasn't like beaten and I wasn't. But things as a child can be confusing even if they're not what somebody else would consider traumatic, right? Not being
Yeah.
heard, not being seen, not being valued, whatever that looks like in your own world. Even sibling order, right? I just had a dream
Yes.
about my, I just had a dream about my dad giving my brother more stuff and not like wanting to give me like the, I mean, I'm whatever, I'm in my 40s, right? So there are things that you hold on to from your childhood that you may not necessarily know are continuing to block you currently. And they're showing up in how you relate to your partner. They're showing up in how you relate to your
Yeah.
children very much. That dynamic can come back, or you can overcompensate for childhood wounds, with your children in your work situations and feeling empowered and speaking to leadership, your feelings of authority. If you were told to sit down and shut up, I mean, even that. And people
Yeah.
don't recognize, oh, the reason I can't get promoted at work is because I'm still holding on to something that I'm afraid to ask for things because I was told to sit down and shut up. And they're
Right.
not making that correlation, right?
No.
So having somebody like you who's a guide to take people through the sit with self, open yourself up, also to understand from an RN standpoint what the body does, how it responds, the serotonin, the norepinephrine, all of the endorphins, and I think that's the other thing that people fail to realize when they're unhappy or they're going through things. If you write down all the stuff we eat in a day, you probably eat healthier, but for most people, if you wrote down everything you eat in a day and you fed a dog, a 100-pound dog or 250-pound dog, what you ate in a day, and the dog was lethargic or
Yeah.
sick, you would be like, oh my God, because it ate lasagna, obviously, like that's why it's bloated. But we
Yes.
don't, like, we're so conscious as creatures, but are we? Because we're creatures. Like, why are we not aware of all the things? So I think that you bring that physiological component is super
Yeah.
important and something that most people don't have. Speaking of things most people don't have, you were recently on a show that some like really like megastars, like people from way back, like Carmen Electra and all these
Yeah.
other people were focused about people who are really leaving their mark, which is how I found you for the series. Talk
Yeah.
about that episode and what it meant to you to be a part of that series. I know you have the premiere coming up.
So yeah, it's aired on Inside Success TV. It's Legacy Makers. It was a really amazing experience to actually be filmed of my story and talk about having to be seen. Well, that fear had to go because I was going to be seen. So there's a red carpet event coming up in Miami in February, which is going to be really cool because they're all walks of life. Everybody has a story, even stars. There's people that are on there from Rocky Four, Drago, um, and they all have childhood issues too. So we all come, we're all one, and we all have triggers, and we all have childhood trauma, and we all have mother-father wounds, and so this Legacy Makers was an amazing experience because you get to talk about what they are, what your legacy is, why you wanted to come into this type of business, and they're all different businesses, and what mark you want to leave. So it was an amazing experience to do. I mean, it was incredible. So it
Yeah.
really helped me to get visibility, really promoted my business and what I'm doing. So yeah, it was great.
And yeah, and I love seeing that more so. Like, I feel like nowadays nobody wants to like market themselves. They just want to speak openly and be in places that afford them the opportunity to do that. Be that podcast like this one, be that publications, be that shows. There are so many opportunities for people out there. They're not really aware or accessing. Like, I'm big on the DIY PR and like making sure that you reach out to the cut, you reach out to the New York Times, and you reach out to like whatever, all of these places on your own behalf. Because when you are of service, a lot of us, and this is a message to anybody who's a service oriented person, a lot of us are very humble and we don't want to self promote and we feel like that's vain and it doesn't feel natural and we're about alignment, so we don't want to do that. there's a narrative shift that has helped me help more people, which is I'm of service, so I need to reach the audiences that need to be reached. It's not
Yes.
about me being like, oh, look at me. Because even all my projects, like everyone has always says, did you write your story? It's like, no, it's all about everyone else all the time, which is great. And I'm fine with that. But it also, allows people the opportunity to be a part of your world too.
Well, I think now in these days and age, the way things are going, I think authenticity is truest the highest vibration. Really, we're all one, and you, just because somebody's a star or somebody's a janitor, we're all one. We are all one, and we all come from different things that brought us to there. We all have different lessons, right? Or maybe some people are just learning what it's like to be struggling, and some are, fortunate to be wealthy. But it is all the kind of life you want to build. And I could tell you that all the things that you want are really buried under your trauma. They're buried under that little person or that little boy or girl who felt unseen. And when you really work through that, we all have a purpose. We're all in service to each other, and we all have gifts to share. Um, so once you find that, you really find that soul purpose, and then that feeling that you're always outside looking for it, it kind of starts to fulfill a little bit because you know
Yeah,
your purpose. And if you
right.
could
And
help somebody else along the way, that's the work we're here to do, really.
mhm.
That's what we're here for, is to be of service to others, and all the other great things that come with that, then they'll flow. Those things will come if you're doing things with integrity.
Absolutely. And following the joy, like
Yeah,
following the joy and like stepping away from things and you can feel it in your body. Like if you stop listening to all the words and the things
right.
and start feeling it on a visceral level, like when I'm
Yes.
at this job, I feel, ugh, and
And
this is not
that's
good for me. And rate
no,
it from 1 to 10, right? Like where you fall on the energetic scale. And what I started to recognize is like, I say I'm like an 8.2 most of the time, right? Like I vibrated an 8.2. Unless I'm excited, it's like 8.7. I try not to go to a 10 because a lot of people can't like go to a 10. And I do really love to pour into other people. I think generosity of spirit is the highest human experience. It's transcendence. It's the closest you can get to God, universe, spirit is to be a creator, to be a source, and to be a resource for others. Like that's really the
yes,
meaning. Self-actualization is great too. The zero F's given era, the no cosigners needed, the really that self-assured, not I'm great, not I'm awful, just I am and
right.
I
I
can
am.
be, I am, and that's it. And also, yeah, when you genuinely, and I've had a lot of conversations on this too, giving from a place that's not performative, being recognizing when you're being performative. And a lot of us spend a lot of time being performative, and that is misalignment. Performative is, and I realized over the years too, the people pleasing, the, wanting everyone to like me, not
Right.
worrying whether or not I like them, right? Worrying about whether or not they liked me, and just letting go of that ego death that has to come, in order for you to really say, hey, I'm not here for anyone. I'm here just because I'm a child of the universe, spirit, God, whatever you attach that to. And my job is to find my purpose. And whatever, the only way to find that is keep going towards things that make me vibrate higher.
Correct. And what you yeah,
Without
you find
without escapism though, without
right.
escapism. Let me put, because people can vibrate really high on things that will
Yes,
help them
yes.
avoid, yeah, accountability.
I found too, like as I was working through mine, I find if you follow your passions, you'll find your purpose. And
Hmm.
the other part of what I do when we were talking about on a visceral level is we carry so much in our bodies, and this is what causes disease. That's why when I work with people too, I talk to them about, maybe what medications they're on, what physical ailments they're having, and then show them a direct correlation to what their emotional stability is. And you have GI issues in your stomach, and that's a lot of anxiety. You have kidney issues, it's fear. It stores certain organs, carry certain emotions. And it's scientifically and neurologically proven that this is really how disease process starts.
Yeah.
So it's really important not to suppress our emotions and start to be able to regulate our nervous system and to work mind, body, and soul all together. That's the true beauty. And really, that's the true wealth is being able to have aligned mind, body, soul. And it takes work. It's not easy work. I tell everybody, you are in for a journey, but it
Yeah.
takes just as much work to sit in it as it does to work through it. People don't
Yeah.
realize it takes more to hold on to your crap than to actually finally feel and release it.
Yeah, and it's important to let it go and
Yeah.
being like there's a Wayne Dyer quote that says, "Have a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing." And in order to detach from the past, and you have to like face it, address it, own it, and like allow it to like go and
Yeah.
sometimes it takes somebody to pull that out of you. You could be holding on to stuff you don't even realize you're holding on to until you
Subconscious.
sit with like that's the midwife part, right? Until you sit with
Yeah.
Joelle and she starts to like go through like what were your childhood experiences and
Right.
whenever you can reflect on your life, I think self-awareness obviously is critical in a journey of spirituality. Self-awareness is really critical. But also like projects like what you're working on with Slaying Miami, having you have to rewrite your narrative and think about it. Like
Yeah.
how would I tell my story? And what were the parts that where were the mountains I climbed? And what was the dragon I slayed? What did I overcome in this life?
Yeah.
And within that, you can find the where the work is, right? You can find the
Yeah.
work. If you try and tell yourself your own story in your head, you'll find the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
The
that's always
triggers
interesting
too.
interviewing women like you and hearing their stories. And it's like for you, it's just, I mean, divinity fits the name of the business because you're on this
Mm.
like divine path.
Yeah, that was that was spirit led. It was
Yeah.
spirit led. I got a tattoo that said divine feminine on my, my masculine side to balance it out. And it just flowed. That it all it's the doors and the process and the evolution of this business is going the way it is supposed to. Then you have your human side over here, right? That we have to constantly die to continue to be led on the path and all these different projects that open up, which you know that it's right for you when you're following the path. You can feel that. And
Right.
triggers too, our triggers is a huge thing. People think triggers are somebody else making you annoyed, but it's an opportunity to heal because what's triggering you is usually not what you're mad about right now. It's usually your 5-year-old that's holding on to something subconscious.
Yeah.
So it's just tools and teaching people to be more self aware. So many people are just really not aware at all. Like,
Yeah.
really just oblivious to why they feel certain ways. And until you take the time to really become present with those feelings, then you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, my whole life I've been recycling the same type of relationships because I have a father wound or a mother wound. So
Yeah.
it's work, it's good work, and everyone needs it. Everybody needs a form of finding their way in.
Definitely. And it's like coaches, it's like athletes have coaches. Like if you really want to be at your spiritual best, it's like buying a great mattress, you sleep a lot
Right.
better with you when you have inner peace. And it really is. And especially like the younger you are too. I love emotionally intelligent people in their 20s and 30s and which are typically like the very ego narcissist years. Like you're just self-involved. Children are narcissists by nature. The world revolves around them as it should because that's the natural order of them growing. But then some people just stay there and don't really ever evolve out of that
True.
childlike behavior, being the victim, manipulating all the things. So when you meet people who are younger who are doing the work in their 20s and 30s, breaking generational cycles, like having empathy for those who came before them, having self-awareness to do the work on themselves, it's always refreshing. Like who are some of the youngest people that you've seen, and like what have you seen in this generation?
19.
Yeah,
And this is a client that, hopefully, will come back and continue the work. Because if not, you're going to be 30, 40,
Mhm.
50. And you have to, but you're so ahead of the game at that point at
That part.
19. And, even little children, like I did do a little spiritual children's book. Because if we can start with little children, teach them to meditate, teaching them to ground, teach them just to know positive affirmations, speak to them about that, right? And get them to be self-aware of their emotions instead of telling a child not to have a tantrum, let them feel the emotion. That's where it starts. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
really where it starts.
No, and I agree with that. And I think, in the world of AI, where children have access to so much information, knowledge is readily available. The Encyclopedia Britannicas they used to try and sell door to door are no longer the way
Those
to get
huge, heavy
information,
things. Yeah.
right? Like we used to be like, hold on, we'll find the answer. Um, but they have
7,000
so much.
pages
So
later.
emotional intelligence becomes the parenting thing that you have to focus on. Yes, the academics are there, but honestly, they're going to figure out math with Alexa later in life if they need it. And it won't be called Alexa, and it'll be innate in their like, meta glasses, whatever. But emotional intelligence is something that it can be taught. I mean, it can be taught. And that's really work with you is like that kind of thing. And I think it's really important too that we instill that with our children. I know with my son, when things come up, like situations come up and like he's in something, I explain how that may show up later in life for him,
Right.
and say, well, if you allow this kid to do this now and it's something you're uncomfortable with and you make somebody else comfortable to but make yourself uncomfortable, later in life you're going to wind up working a job for a boss you hate because you want them to be happier. So it's not what's happening
Self-sacrifice,
now.
self-sacrifice, right from that, right? From that little
Right.
thing was self-sacrifice.
And
And
again,
yeah,
now is the time because this is the shadow work that will later be there for them, to your point on the 19-year-old, if they don't illuminate now and like
correct.
and listen, the other thing is, I mean, even if you can't get with Joelle, there's so much information available about spiritual awakening, mental health, doing the work, figuring it out, facing yourself, having someone work you through it is ideal. But if you're in a place where you feel like I'm always in fear or I'm never happy or I'm just like feel like I have all the success, I'm not enjoying it. Like that's a big feeling a lot of people have, or I don't have success and I'm not enjoying it. Which a lot of people feel, right? And be willing to ask yourself the questions, what is showing up that's making me unhappy? How does it feel
Right.
when it shows up? How did it get here? And there's just work to do, but I love
Yeah.
what you're doing. I
Well,
really
you
think
know
you're
what
doing God's work.
what the thing is too is like from a nursing standpoint and being in nursing and working in neurology and working in the emergency room, and working in part of the psych of the ER, it was so sad seeing people come in. One thing I hate seeing is that, and I'm not saying that there's not a place for antidepressants when you might need them, but that's the norm. Just put somebody on an antidepressant, and you know what it does? It's the worst thing. It suppresses their emotions. They're already feeling crappy about, they're already feeling depressed. Now let's numb them out.
Right.
That's my goal is to say, let's work out, not get on the antidepressants. Let's actually feel and heal, then suppress and become depressed. And that's all they do. They do
Right.
not help you. And it's just another way of giving somebody a form of suppression. We cannot escape what we're meant to deal with.
Yeah, it's a band-aid on a bullet hole, it's
Absolutely. And you're going to
and
bleed through everyone who comes into your life. You're going to
right.
bleed through every situation until we are made and we have scars,
Yeah.
but we're not meant to keep scratching them open. We're meant to feel it and, we're meant to release it and have relief, not keep reliving it.
Yes. And facing it is a big thing, it really is. And having tough conversations or, cutting contact off if there's people in your life that really like every interaction is detracting from your personal happiness. If you consider it like an algebra equation, math equation, and you say, okay, like, if am I picking up charge or am I losing charge when I'm around these
Right.
people, right? Just like protons, neutrons, and electrons, we all have a charge, right? And so if you're a very empathetic person too, like empaths, Reiki healers, people like that, they're very susceptible to picking up
Oh,
the
I do.
charges that come.
I pick up
And
energy.
then
That's
that's
crazy.
even more of a reason to, stay in your, like in your center and not and watch where you energetically align because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And all of us are
Yeah.
energetic carrying beings. Like we all carry energy. So knowing that, being aware, and then being able to like figure out how to if you have toxic relationships in your life, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, there is something that you have not worked through in yourself, and that is why they're showing up. It's not like, oh,
Correct.
God hates you or like any of
No,
the excuses
you're
you tell yourself.
attracting it. You're attracting that level. And I'm like, I mean, speak about the energy, that. I energetically, it's an intuitive spiritual coaching. So I am empath. I am an empath. So I intuitively do the coaching. So I'm picking up a lot of energy. That's why sometimes I have to isolate to clear my energy so I can be back out in community. But that's what makes it good because that's how you can then trigger that client because you're energetically picking up in my client's energy field. So I kind of already know something maybe to say, and then it triggers them, but they're working through it because then they're coming to
Yeah,
the own rationalization. It's just energetically being in their energy field, right? To
yeah,
intuitively pick up what you need to coach them on. And
yeah,
sometimes you get downloads before your client even comes about something that, and you already know it because it's a spiritual gift, which helps you to work through and to guide them to that inner healer.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think everything you're doing is fantastic. What's next for you? What's coming up in 2026?
2026 is slaying in Miami. That is going to be amazing.
In
I'm
March.
doing in March. I'm doing going just for the celebration of the red carpet event. I just published a new book. That's on Amazon. It's unveiling the mask, the journey back to the authentic soul, which talks about all of the masks we wear that we pick up from trauma. I am working on collaborating with med spas and wellness spas so that we can work on more than just outward. Let's give them something else. Let's work on the whole collaboration. And I'm really working into trying to branch out into speaking because
Yeah,
I think that getting into speaking and the right people might hear something, and that aligns the right people for the right aligned clients because I'm not here for sales. I'm here for the right souls. And the
right.
right souls will align with the work that I do.
Yeah, and
So,
hopefully somebody out there is listening. You've manifested this conversation some way, somehow. We were just discussing that as well.
yeah,
You know, when you're a light worker, when you're somebody like that, you're called to do the work. It's not
yeah,
easy work. It's a lot to take on and unpack that kind of mess with people. But somewhere out there, there are people who need you manifesting you, and you're finding these people. They're finding you every day. So if you want to find Joelle, you can absolutely look on this link. Obviously, she's tagged in it. And then if you want to tell them where to find you as well.
DivinityLifeCoach.com is my full website of everything that I do. I also have Divinity Life Coaching RN on Instagram. You can find me. I have a link tree that shows all my socials. I do YouTube, I do LinkedIn, I have Facebook, I have, all of the things, to get the message out there. But yeah, anybody who's looking to even just entertain a conversation, I always give, a 30-minute consultation free of charge so that I can make sure that we're aligned because I want to align with the clients that understand that this is deep transformational work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a quick fix and I'm not going to make you think it's a quick fix because it's not. What you invest into it, you're going to get out of it, just like anything else. But I can tell you that it does work. And I can tell you that um, there's light under our shadows, and we are not our pain. We all have a purpose. All you have to do is dig in and find it.
Great. Great advice. Great having you. You stay on. Bye, everyone else. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good seeing you.